Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I know he was being very polite today. A lot of people very pleased to see a kind of a new politics, a new way of doing things.
Well, it's been a bit wild in the past, but I'd like to know why he wants to change it and how.
Many told me that they thought Prime Minister's question time was too theatrical, that Parliament was out of touch and too theatrical, and they wanted things done differently, but above all, they wanted their voice heard.
He can just choose whichever questions he wants. Like, it's not whichever comes through, as obviously he's going to be choosing which it is. But I think it's a good idea to get the public involved.
I sent out an email to thousands of people and asked them what questions they would like to put to the Prime Minister. And I received 40,000 replies.
I thought it was an interesting approach to obviously crowdsource these questions.
The MPs are the ones to ask the questions, and it's the constituents to get them to ask them.
2,500 people emailed me about the housing crisis in this country. And I asked one from a woman called Marie, who says, what does the government intend to do about the chronic lack of affordable housing and the extortionate rents charged by some private sector landlords in this country?
But I'd say to the honourable gentleman, we won't get Britain building unless we keep our economy going.
Yeah. I've got a question from Stephen, who works for a housing association, who says that the cut in rents will mean that the company he works for will lose 150 jobs by next March because of the loss of funding of that housing association to carry on with the repairs.
Now, I think it's vital, though, that we reform housing associations and make sure they are more efficient. Frankly, they're a part of the public sector that hasn't been through efficiencies, haven't improved their performance, and I think it's about time that they did.
I had more than 1,000 questions on tax credits. Paul, for example, says this very heartfelt question: why is the government taking tax credits away from families?
What we've got to do is tackle the causes of poverty, get people back to work, improve our schools, improve childcare. Those are the ways we can create an economy where work pays and everyone's better off.
And so I ask a question from Claire, who says this: how is changing the thresholds of entitlement for tax credits going to help hard-working people or families?
Let us not go back to the days of unlimited welfare. Labour's position again today is to abolish the welfare cap. I say that a family that chooses not to work shouldn't be better off than one that chooses to work.
I received over 1,000 questions on the situation facing our mental health services and people that suffer from mental health conditions. I want to put to the Prime Minister a question that was put to me quite simply from Gail. Do you think it's acceptable that the mental health services in this country are on their knees at the present time?
There are problems in some mental health services, and it's right we make that commitment. But I make this one point to him. We will not have a strong NHS unless we have a strong economy.
I asked a question from Angela, who's a mental health professional, so she knows exactly what she's talking about. And she quotes this: beds are unobtainable, with the result that people suffering serious mental health crises are either left without adequate care or alternatively admitted to facilities many miles away from their homes, relatives and family support systems. The situation is simply unacceptable.
What I would say to Angela, all those working in mental health, or indeed those suffering from mental health conditions, is that we need to do more as a country to help tackle mental health. So my argument is, yes, put in the resources, change the way the NHS works, change public attitudes to mental health, because that is vital. But I say it again, we won't be able to do any of these things without the strong economy that we've built these last 5 years.
But he's got to make sure that he's still attacking, what the government are doing, and standing up for the Labour Party and standing up for everyone who didn't vote Conservative in the last election.
Even if he's saying stuff I don't agree with, the discussion is happening and there are people actually talking about issues.